We're starting up in the East. We are using betonline.ag as sponsor of the show for their win total. And we'll start breaking down each team, fellas, as we talk about each of them.
Atlanta Hawks first.
Atlanta Hawks first. Over-under is 36.5.
Out of 72 games.
72 games. So it's very important that we mention that. So, Impy, how you feeling about the Hawks this year?
I don't know. I think, I mean, I
Hold on. Didn't you make a bet with Ahmed last year?
Yes, Ahmed said that they would make the playoffs last year. That was like the easiest bet I've ever made in my entire life.
Ahmed also makes really bad bets too. I think I won.
Yeah.
He bet that the Blazers would beat the Lakers in the playoffs last year. I took
That too, yeah.
I bet the Blazers before they had a chance at the playoffs at like 85-1.
I remember that.
And I remember telling people like, "Yo, they're not going to win." I'm like, "Listen, when the playoffs start, they're going to be like 30-1." So
You just made.
I just made a tremendous value bet.
Yeah.
And, after game one, I think it a little erect. I did, but then it got shut down after. But all right, Atlanta Hawks. Let's go back to that.
They're gonna have to outscore everybody because they're gonna be really bad on defense. Like even the moves that they made in the offseason were tremendous. Like I like Gallinari. The fact that he's gonna be making like $15 million off the bench is another conversation. So like roster constructions in terms of like salary, that's a whole nother conversation. But
Okay,
how are they going to stop people? I still don't understand because they were bottom of the barrel in the NBA last year, and then all of the money that they spent in the offseason this year to improve the team didn't make the defense any better. You get Clint Capella back, of course, but I'm just saying, I don't see it. They're going to have to be a historically great offense to make the playoffs and to hit this over. That's why I'm kind of, I'm closer to the under because I just don't think they're going to be able to play defense.
I get that. The thing I wanted to cut you off about was I don't look at Gallo. I know they're gonna want to bring him off the bench.
No, he is coming off the bench.
Right. But and you said he was like overpriced, kind of like that's a lot of money
for a bench player.
Yeah, but like, dude, I don't look at it that way because he'll probably be out there for them when the game matters most.
For sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I don't really look at it. I think the idea of you being a six man is not what it used to be, man. I think now if you're a six man, like I look at it as, Ginobili was out there with 4 minutes left and the game was on the line.
Yeah.
So I think Gallo's going to be out there.
He's also a defensive liability, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like if you're in one of those tough crunch it out games, it's just I would have spent the money differently. They spent a lot of money this offseason. I would have potentially done
and it wasn't really
way.
a splash moves that warrant the big money being spent.
I like Bogdanovich, and they brought him over. They got two amazing shooters. Like I would have just kind of maybe went another way. Like maybe like moved I know we're not talking about the Blazers, but like Robert Covington, in my opinion, would have been like a way better fit. He probably would have got him for a little cheaper too. I'm just saying in terms of both sides of the basketball. I wish they would have done a little something different. But they're probably just planning on outscoring everybody. So if that's the case, I'm all for it. I just don't see it happening. I'm on the under, but it could be close. It really just depends on how big of a step Trae Young takes.
Yeah, I'm with you on the under too. I think they have like a lot of like really decent players.
Yep.
Like a lot of like Gallo's good, Capella's good, John Collins is good. But I don't think they have anyone that can like stand out and bring them over the top. Like obviously they have Trae Young, who's amazing, but he's limited by the roster around him, right? Like they didn't build it up around him to help his defensive issues.
For sure.
So yeah, I think I'm on the under, and I also think they have a lot of roster overlap. Like they have Bogdanovich, Gallo, Herter, Hunter, Reddish. Like how are all these guys gonna play?
Yep.
Like you can't.
The
play all these
rotations are
guys.
gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough. That goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Like they're gonna have to figure out who's going to play and how much, and then who's going to play with who. I also really like the rookie that they got, Ngakwu.
Yeah.
But then, again, like, where is he going to play?
Yeah.
Capella, Collins, Gallo. Like, you have these nice young guys, but a lot of them are blocked by a lot of, like, roster overlap.
Remember when we were doing the VMNBA show, and just randomly I'd be like, yo, are we sure Herter's not a Supermax guy? Just because there was, like, that 3 months where he was just, like, like the NBA analytics.
He's good,
dude.
man.
No, I know,
good.
but it was just funny. It was like the NBA, like per 36 possessions, people were like, "Yo, Herder, man, he got to be playing more." So I randomly just turned to MP and be like, "Yo, are we sure he's not a supermax guy?"
Did you even mention Cam Reddish? I don't even know if you
did,
mentioned the
he
wing guys. Like
he mentioned him.
They have like 6 wing guys that all need minutes.
the one thing that I will say is I like Rondo. They have Rondo. They signed Rondo, which is amazing.
I think that was my favorite addition that they made because you know how I am with. I love the point guard that could score, and the guy next to him in the backcourt is like more defensive minded.
I don't know if they're gonna play together though. Maybe they will. I don't know. I have no idea. And he's injury prone at times during the regular season. To me, Rondo is a vet for the locker room.
Yeah.
He has like one of the best IQs in the NBA.
Yeah.
And then if they can get to the playoffs, it's playoff Rondo time. But it's tough, man. I wish they did more on the defensive side of the ball in the offseason. I really do. But you know what? The NBA is, they can just play a rocket style hoops maybe and just outscore everybody. I'm not sure. We'll see.
I'm on the under as well.
Yeah, I think we all are.
Yeah.
I think 36 is high.
I want to mention one thing that I didn't in the beginning. In the event that we come across a team that we're talking about and your MVP is on that team, your defensive player of the year, your coach of the year, a sort of an award, don't mention it until we get to that portion of the show. Okay, next up, the Boston Celtics. Over under 44.5 wins. I think the one thing that I like that they've done, Gordon Hayward leaving.
There's no space for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and especially when you want everything to run through Tatum and Brown, that being your core. Like, he was just causing disruptions. The flow was just different. And it's unfortunate for him, right? Like, that shit was pretty much over the first game he played. He just never recovered. And people slander him because he came over from Utah and that big contract and the ties to Brad Stevens going back to Butler. But it just didn't pan out because he got hurt. And then I feel like everything after was sort of trying to validate that contract. And look, last year prior to COVID, he was starting to come back and, you saw some flashes and then they were playing well. But then he gets hurt again. And it's just, at this point, when you have an injury like that, I'll tell you this much. There's no way you were thinking about drafting him in fantasy.
Nope. Unfortunately not.
If you pull a hamstring, Ippy will not draft you in fantasy. That's like you're injury prone and it's a wrap. So, Ip, how do you feel about the Celtics?
I'm on the over.
Mm-hmm.
I think. He's not my MVP pick, but I think if Tatum, I think the Celtics are going to be a top 2 seed in the East, and I think Tatum will be in the MVP discussion. I know we're not talking MVP yet, and Nick literally just told me don't do this, but I think he's going to just be in the discussion. He's not my pick. I'm just saying I think he's going to work his way into the discussion. I like the 2 kids that they drafted. Aaron Naismith was the best shooter in the draft, and Peyton Pritchard is an absolute gun as well. So I like what they're doing, spacing the floor. I mean, they have unbelievable wings. And I think the Jeff Teague signing is underrated. This is going to be an elite defensive team. Top 2 in the East for me. I'm on the over for sure.
Yo, real quick. Do you feel like this was because you're a big college basketball guy, and Impy, you're a bigger college basketball guy than I am. Do you feel like this year has been a tough year to evaluate these dudes? Because you didn't really have any college basketball or March Madness.
You had college basketball, you just didn't have March Madness.
Yeah, you didn't have March Madness.
I mean, to be honest with you, these guys are being evaluated from the day they're in high school. Like, I don't think a college tournament would have. I mean, some guys' value could have improved.
Skyrocket, yeah. But like Buddy Hield is the first example I always think of. He went on that run with Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, he's a lottery pick.
Yeah.
Where he was like a borderline.
I think this year's draft was interesting because it was more deep than it was top heavy. Like there was I hate to do this, but like Emmanuel Quickley looks amazing, and he was drafted in the 20s by the Knicks. He looks amazing, Nick. I'm not just saying it. There's guys because of. I'm being serious.
No, I know he just had like 20 in the preseason, but
no, I'm telling you,
he looks good. I'll confirm.
He looks good. He looks good. But there's guys where, maybe they would have been at the bottom of the lottery, but they fell to 20. Like, I don't buy it. I think
That's fair. That's a fair assessment. Marco, how about you?
On just the rookies in general? Or
yeah, just
the
like the
Celtics?
rookies coming in with the situation that was at hand last year.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, like I said earlier, I think it's going to be tough for the rookies to adjust. I don't know if it really impacted the NBA teams like
drafting them.
Yeah,
maybe in-person workouts.
Them. Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how the process changed completely.
They couldn't work people out, but I think it was the process of working people out in person.
Yeah,
you had to do like Zoom calls instead, and then like you were very limited. Before you could like work out as many prospects as you wanted, like just to get a look at them, like even like the day before the draft, you could like work guys out randomly, whatever, even to call smoke for the draft, right? Like, oh, this guy worked out with the Pistons last night, maybe we got to trade up now.
Yeah.
But there was none of that because you couldn't.
There's no way they pass on him, and then before you know it, they didn't want to take him anyway. Yeah,
but the actual tape and like your evaluations of these guys, you already had it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a question about the Celtics. At what point do we pull back on Brad Stevens being this genius of a coach? Like, how many more years do we need to? I know the expectation is very high, right?
Yeah.
And like for a team like Boston and their organization and their legacy, it's you need to be getting to the finals. But like, he's been outcoached in a lot of these series. And again, he's not being outcoached by jobbers. It's like Spoelstra, Nick Nurse, like it's guys that are top of the food chain. So is that a fair criticism?
I think it's very obvious what he's not great at, and I think he can construct a great defense like no matter what. I think he's great at that. I think he's a great like in-game strategist, but I don't think he's good at making an offense without a guy there to carry that offense. Like, if you think about the only times that the Celtics have had, like, top 5, top 10 offenses, it's been the year Isaiah Thomas was, like, a top 5 MVP player. And then it's been one of the years with Kyrie. Only twice have they had an offense that good. So, like, I don't know if he can do that without a superstar. Now the question is, will Jason Tatum be a superstar?
So it's funny that you mentioned the superstar thing because I actually was going to say, Nick, that's not fair. I think it's Danny Ainge's fault. Danny Ainge has done an amazing – I sound like an idiot saying that. Danny Ainge has done a really good job, like cultivating all of these draft picks. But he hasn't really – he's hit on like a lot of great players, but none of them have really like Marcus Smart is an amazing player, right? Like I don't know how I'm trying to say this. They had all these draft picks, and they were always in the discussions years ago about trading for big-name guys, and they just never traded anybody, right? Like, they acquired all the assets. They had all of these picks, and they just drafted people.
Yep.
They never, like, packaged the picks to bring someone in.
Yep.
So I think – I hear what you're saying. You're right. But also, I don't think they've had – their roster's good, but I think they needed a superstar. Tatum is becoming the superstar, and Brown's becoming a really good number 2. But I think – if you want to draw that criticism on Brad Stevens, at least let him have an amazing roster first. Because even to Marco's point, Kyrie got hurt that playoff run.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to mention they did acquire pieces.
Yeah,
guys just got hurt.
Yeah,
so it's not like Danny Ainge was just sitting there with a thumb up his ass. He tried he brought in Kyrie, he brought in Hayward,
signed.
Yeah, right.
Kyrie was the only guy that they traded for, but what did they really give up? They didn't really give up that much.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like. It's weird because Ainge has been in this – the Celtics and Ainge have been in this weird position where it's like we want to keep stockpiling these assets because when there's the opportunity to make a move for someone, we can do it. But at the same time, they keep trying to bring in young players. Like they just drafted 3 players in the first round this year. So it's like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like if you take a look at the young guys on their roster, right, you have – look at the first-round picks that they've drafted. It's – Romeo Langford hasn't really done much. Semi Ojeleye hasn't really done much. Grant Williams, he flashed a little bit last year, but you never know. Vincent Poirier, he's not even on the team anymore. Now they drafted Aaron Nesmith this year and Peyton Pritchard in the first round. Like none of these guys have popped. So to your point, it's kind of hard to package some of these guys because like.
Well, I would do so. Sorry, I would do it in advance. Before,
before.
Just It's interesting. They had all of those picks from the Celtics, all of those picks from the Nets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I feel like they were into discussions for trading for Anthony Davis.
They were
early on. Like they're always, because they have the assets and they just never really pulled
Well, they had
trigger.
that Hampton meeting with KD also.
KD, another guy.
This is like 4 years ago now. But.
I think Tristan Thompson's going to be a nice addition to this team, though.
Yeah. I mean, like, going back to them, I think I agree with you. I'm on the over for them.
Yeah.
But then I don't think they advance that far in the playoffs.
That's fair.
I'm on the over for them.
So you see them like a regular season kind of
thing?
And
I think the issue is going to be if they get, like, think who's guarding Embiid if they get matched up with Philly. Like,
I mean, it would
Tristan
probably
Thompson.
I mean, it's going to have to be a
like,
committee.
he's so much smaller
Time
than
Lord.
him.
It's going to be a couple different guys.
And then, like, I just think the Bucks are better than them.
I agree with you. I think the Bucks are better than them as well.
I don't think they match up well with the Sixers.
I think the Nets are better than them as well.
The Nets, if they stay healthy, yeah.
I see what you're saying. In a situation where, like, maybe the Nets don't finish as high in the playoffs, maybe they have to play the Nets in the first round because of the Nets resting guys. And there's could be a lot of scenarios where.
Well, that's a nice little segue into the Brooklyn Nets.
Nice.
Also, 44.5 wins. I don't know if this is a hot take or if I'm going out on a limb. Guys, if Durant is Durant,
they're winning the East.
They're winning the East.
It's
like in the regular season or in the playoffs?
No, but they're gonna go to the NBA Finals.
They're going to the finals.
Yep.
Yo, the only thing that you have to worry about with them, personally, what I think is the KD Kyrie dynamic.
I think it's gonna be fine. I think they both know what they signed.
So
up for.
if you think that's gonna be the case,
you think it's gonna be fine?
Yeah, 100% fine.
Oh.
Kyrie's
I used to be such a like Kyrie defender.
I'm not a defender.
I don't like.
What
is he doing?
Kyrie is one media member. If I get like credentials to a Nets like post game, and I just go, how do you feel about being number 2? And it's just gonna spiral him out of control.
So here's the thing,
though. Man, this is my team.
Nah, but here's the thing. He knows he's number 2. This is the first time in his career. I know this sounds crazy. This is the first time in his career where he's accepted it.
Okay, that's fair.
No,
if he's accepted it, that's fair.
But do you think he's accepted it?
He said it. Remember,
I don't think that's not what he said.
What he said.
He said that Durant could make the same shot that he could make. That's what he said.
But like, you can't. Like, you're gonna just put the hardware up against each other. KD, it's not even close.
I mean, he disrespected LeBron in that same conversation, and you put the hardware up against each other.
Yeah, well. It's different when you're on the same team now.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for LeBron, that'd be less hardware for Kyrie.
Exactly.
I think Kyrie knows that he's in really good company right now. I think he and like you got to think about what that answer to that question again. Kyrie thinks he's a better one-on-one scorer than LeBron. I don't agree, but I kind of hear someone trying to make an argument for it, like. One bucket, you got to get one. LeBron is a sensational passer, a great defender, amazing. He could do it all. But if you just want someone to go get a bucket, you could. I don't agree with it, but you can make the argument Kyrie maybe could get a bucket better than LeBron. One bucket, I don't agree with it. I'm just saying you kind of make an argument one-on-one ISO situation. But you put KD into that conversation. KD is the clear answer there.
Yeah,
Kyrie made the wrong decision by saying that, but it wasn't as ridiculously outlandish as like people made it seem. I think.
Yeah. I think, man, this is hard. I think they go over.
Yeah.
Even if Durant only plays like 50 games, which I'm expecting. Like I don't think he plays all year. I'm assuming they're going to sit him in back-to-backs but this roster is really good.
It's
like
really
even
good.
After those top 2, like Karis LeVert is good, Joe Harris,
Dinwiddie.
Taurean Prince, Dinwiddie. They got Jordan and Allen at center. Like that's a great center combination.
Yeah.
They got Landry Shamet in the deal from.
I was gonna mention him.
Like they have.
Why do teams
man.
just throw him in deals like he's a scrub? I feel like
he's not. That's the thing.
Not. I mean,
he's like a sweetener.
I mean,
like
the Clippers got Kennard there, who I think is good too.
Yeah.
Like I think, I don't
Kennard's
think they just gave him away for nothing. Like Kennard's
okay,
good.
that's fair.
The Nets roster is good, man.
It's very good. I have here written. They can win the East, and I wouldn't be surprised. But the real question is, can they stop anyone? That's kind of my question. Is like the defense.
You think?
I mean, I know KD's an underrated defender, and I know you have Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan. I'm a little worried about them stopping people on the defensive side of the ball. But you hit it on the head. Like amazing role players around KD and Kyrie, and they're built similarly, right? Like you think about Karis LeVert and Dinwiddie. they're guys that could go get a bucket, and they're really good with the ball in their hands. So, in the event that KD and Kyrie do take a night off, you can steal some wins. That's why I'm a little bit higher on the over here, just because the 3 and 4th best players on their team are similar to their 1st and 2nd best players.
Yeah.
So
I could also see a trade happening though, not necessarily for James Harden, but for
Bradley Beal,
for someone, because I think there's to what you just said. I don't know if that overlap is always like super helpful, right? Like Karis LeVert and Dinwiddie need the ball in their hands to be successful, and like that's great for like the 10 minutes that Kyrie and Durant are off. But like there could be a lot of overlap with just people needing the ball. So like they might try to package 1 or 2 of those guys for more of an off ball guy, more of a defender, something like that. I could see that happening. Yeah. But either way, like this team just has so much talent. 44 wins. I'm gonna go with the over there.
Yeah, same. I'm on the over.
Yeah, it's hard for me to envision Durant coming back and being the Durant that he was of old, because I was saying this from when he first got hurt. I wasn't that skeptical of him coming back and being like
a superstar.
Yeah, I thought that he was gonna be, and it wasn't because I wanted him to come to the Knicks.
Mm-hmm.
It was that injury sucks. They say it's the worst injury they get.
Yeah.
But also he's a guy who he's not really like. He is explosive, but he's not Blake Griffin. He's not Russell Westbrook, where that's what makes him great.
Yeah.
Bro, he's a 7-footer that can shoot threes. Like, he could be 80% Durant, and this team would still be a beast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's shown in a couple of games that he's played so far in the preseason, like, he's driving to the hole, he's making some blocks. Like, I don't think that was going to change. Because also his body type, he's like
not heavy.
Slim. Yeah, he's not
heavy.
carrying extra weight. So I'm really high on them this year, man.
He could have played in the bubble, yo. Let's not forget. Or maybe not in the beginning of the bubble, but he could have played. If the Nets made the playoffs, he could have played. He's got a lot of rest.
Did they not make the playoffs?
Did they make the playoffs? Were they the 8 seed? They were the 8 seed, right? Didn't they get smoked?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I'm just saying, if he wanted to play, he could have played. I don't even remember if they made the playoffs. That's ridiculous. I don't think they did.
No, I think they didn't they lose that game at the buzzer against Portland. I'm pulling it up right now just to make sure.
Who the fuck was the 8 seed in the East last year?
I mean, the Magic made the playoffs.
Oh no, they were the 7 seed.
They were
the Nets, right?
Seed, yeah, and they lost to Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
He could have played.
Well, I remember last year there was some points where like a lot of money started coming in on them to like win the finals.
That was
because there was rumors of like Kyrie and Durant potentially playing,
back.
And then when they shut that down, it's just like
That's
they
fine.
dropped down to like 60-1. You're like, yo, what the fuck? And then you're looking, you're like, yo, if they come back, and then all of a sudden they ruled it out, and it's like 150-1. It's like, yo, it's
everybody knew the Lakers were winning the championship last year.